for coming out tonight. I know everybody has so many things going on. We've got our families and kids. I just appreciate your taking the time out to care about the community here at Lebanon. It's just a passion of mine. One of the reasons I ran for office was because I wanted to see a long-term vision for our community. I wanted to have plans in place so that down the road we don't have huge expenses. We don't have problems like we ran into with the water plant, where all of a sudden, oh my gosh, we need $20 million to build a water plant. We need to plan these things out, and we need to do things in a good order. And as a city council, one of the first things we did in January, the first meeting that I went to, we had to come up with a plan of what was our goals. And it's kind of hard to just come up with some goals. And it's like, well, these are important, these are important. But I wanted to see what the community wanted. Yeah, everybody elected us, and we're on the city council, we represent you. But I want to see what the community really wants as a whole community. And we're starting to see a lot of the things that I assumed, and we're seeing that the friendliness part of the town is important, downtown's important. There's a lot of really good important things. But this here tonight is an opportunity for you to have your say in how you want this community to look down the road. We've given every opportunity to try to reach out to people. And I recognize a lot of you, but there's a lot of faces I don't recognize, and that's great because that means we've got people coming out that are going to talk and maybe have never given their opinion about what our city should be. Thank you so much. I don't want to go on forever. I thank the consultants. And that's the reason we brought the consultants in too, is we want to make sure that this was unbiased. This is a group of people that have no special interest in Lebanon, but that they are coming to help us to get the numbers and to kind of get all the information together so that we can have a vision going forward. And then once this is over, then the next big part is going to be where we actually take this and make a plan and put that in action. And that's the whole second step. And that'll be next year when we start working on that. So thank you for being part of this. This is pretty historic, and I think we're going to do some exciting things moving forward. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Brian Scott. I'm with BDS Planning and Urban Design. My colleagues and I are here to help facilitate this process. As the mayor said, it's your process, and we're just here because we don't have a stake in Lebanon and we have these cool little clickers. I personally I grew up in Portland, went to school in Corvallis, lived in Albany and Salem for a time. I live in Seattle at the moment, and the firm is based in Seattle. We do work around the Pacific Northwest in various places. So what I want to do tonight is give you a quick overview of the Lebanon 2040 process so far, so you can see how we got here. Tell you about the outreach to date, which will help explain the questions that we're going to put to you in a little while. Describe the focus areas and values that the mayor alluded to that are emerging from this process. And then the most important part of the evening is to get you to engage in helping us understand how we're doing on getting these values right and which ones are most important. So we're going to do some polling using these fancy little gizmos that I will explain shortly. So I'll just stop right there. And if you didn't get handed one of these in the last few minutes, there are several people in the back that have a supply. So you should have one of these when we get down about 10 slides in this presentation, because you're going to get to put your mark up on the screen. So you'll need one of these. I'll also explain about these that they're really good at communicating with this little transmitter up here that puts information into my computer. They're not good for anything else. They won't open your garage door. They don't play music. So we want you to leave them here when you leave, and so we'll collect them at the end, and if you leave early, somebody will pick it up at the door. So we really want to leave with as many of these as we had, because we have to buy them if we don't maintain them at the moment. So you should have one temporarily, and then we'll have some time for discussion at the end, because I think some of these questions will make you curious. And probably more importantly, some of the answers to the questions, as you see what comes back from the folks that are here, will make you curious. You'll probably have some thoughts that you want to share with each other, and we'll take that down, take your input tonight. So the process today, when we started this process back in October, we designed a process of a series of community meetings and different opportunities to reach out into the community. I'm not going to go through all the detail of it. But the important part is we're about 3/4 of the way through it. This is us at this community forum right now that's happening there. We were at the Business Expo yesterday. And so this is the opportunity to get feedback from the community on the vision as it's emerging, and then move forward toward the city council in a month or two to try and adopt a vision for Lebanon 2040. The outreach to date began with several different kinds of outreach. We've had a website that's been up since the first of the year at Lebanon2040.org, and there's been 2 surveys up there. There was a survey that was there earlier in the year asking you about what was really valuable about Lebanon, about your fears. There's another survey up there now that's just like the one that you're going to do right here. So if you have friends that you wish were here scoring on these clickers, you can have them go online and they can do it as well. We also spent several days in January and February doing one-on-one and small group outreach to different groups. We had meetings here at the Boys and Girls Club, at the Chamber of Commerce, at Samaritan Hospital, at Comp Northwest, at the Senior Center, at Green Acres School. We did one in Spanish. We've been doing a number of different kinds of outreach to figure out some themes. And through that process, we touched 538 people one way or another, which is pretty good in a town the size of Lebanon. We began to get some results from that about people's values and fears, describing Lebanon in a single word, and other key characteristics of the community. That's on the right side of this. And when we asked people what do they personally value about living in Lebanon, by far the number one response to that was that it's a small town, which is a good thing. And community friendly, and the location were things that people said were really important to them about Lebanon. When we asked people to describe Lebanon in a single word, the number one answer was home. Also friendly, growing, community, small. So you can see some themes there about people having a really good feeling about the small town connection. But when we asked people what their biggest fear for Lebanon was, the number one response was about drugs. There were fears about growth and crime, and fears about the schools. When we asked people what area of interest should the community focus on in the future, we got a variety of responses. These are the top responses across the board. There were a group that were sort of about business and economics, businesses, downtown, jobs. There was a group that were about education, learning, families, the library, kids, school, families, and drugs showed up again in an area of concern. So giving a sense of that feedback we got, we didn't give people choices, but tried to respond to specific things. When we asked people, what type of place would you like to see Lebanon be in the year 2040? Small town was, again, the response. So people don't want this to turn into a big city, but they like the small town feel. Business friendly, education, family oriented, safe, active and healthy, friendly, clean. So that begins to give you a picture of how people responded to the survey that we put out there. We also did the one-on-one outreach in the community and asked people what some of their thoughts were there on values. They talked about, again, small town, friendly, community, its location, its downtown. For one word, they talked about growing, warm, compact, fears, growing too fast, uncontrolled growth, education system. People talked about it being a mecca for bad behavior. We weren't sure what that meant, but it came up. And so there really were some common themes between the surveys and the one-on-one conversations. And as a result of that, we took that and had a discussion with the city council about that, and then we had a group of folks that we've been calling the sounding board, many of whom are here tonight. And we asked them to react to this list and to think about some groupings of those. It was about 20, 25 people were there, and just get them to help us kind of articulate and bring them into some smaller categories, which led us to this notion of 6 focus areas that we're going to ask you questions about tonight. Focus areas of arts and culture, community and economic development, community friendliness, the downtown, education, and health and safety. And we broke those down even further into some subcategories, and you're going to see this list a lot in the next few minutes as we're going to go through and get your feedback on these things. So arts and culture was events, the arts, the library. Community and economic development was about new business, managed growth and mobility. Community friendliness was about friendly connections and inclusive. Downtown was about the heart of the community, the gathering center, historic preservation. Education was about schools, children and families, lifelong learning. Health and safety was about healthy lifestyles, public safety, recreation, and seniors. So that kind of gave us the categories that came from this open-ended research and lots of conversations with a lot of different people. And that led us to some key questions. And so our questions is, how strongly do you feel about some of these subjects and which ones are most important? And what we'd like to do is take the next 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, we'll see how fast everybody can, how fast their thumbs are and how fast I can talk. And we're going to go through and give you a chance to give us feedback in each of those categories. So just so you know what's coming, there's 6 focus areas and there's 3 or 4 core values suggested under each one of those. So there's about 19, 20 questions coming up. And we're going to walk through them and we're going to get your feelings on a number of these things. If you can't read the slide up here or understand me, the same questions are posed on a piece of paper in front of you if you pick one of those up. But you can't vote on it ahead on the piece of paper. You've got to wait until I get to it up here on the screen if you want to have your score count with everybody else's. So you can turn it in on paper if you like later though. So we're going to use these same focus areas. I'm not going to read them all again right now, but this is the guiding principle of where we are. So it's our turn to ask what you think about some of these areas. And again, we're going to use these clickers. And since you all have a cell phone or a telephone or something else, this is a familiar keypad to you. It has 12 keys. They are cleverly numbered 1 through 9. And A, B, C, D, E, etc. We're mostly going to use 1 through 5, and one question we're going to use the 6. And actually on the last question we'll be using A, B, C, D, and E, and F. So those are the keys we're going to use. You're going to have a chance to push them. When you push one of these buttons, you'll notice that the little light on your gizmo flashes. When the polling is live, it'll flash a little longer. Right now it just kind of flashes, which is cool. But it doesn't actually, my computer's not listening at the moment, so have a good time pushing the buttons. So we're going to move into it here. So in each case, we're going to have a scale. We're going to ask you a value scale, because we're talking about these focus areas and some core values that we're interested in. And we're going to ask how much you agree or disagree with some suggested values in Lebanon. And these aren't final. This is the reason we're doing this is because we want to see how do these work out. So in each case, we'll have a scale and ask how do you feel about the suggested statement. We're going to ask whether you agree or disagree. And there's a 5-point scale from a 1 being strongly disagree to a 5 being strongly agree. We've answered questions like this before, and so that's going to be the program on all but the last question is using this same scale. A 1 is, no, that's wrong, that's not what I want. 5 is, you bet, that's really great, we should be going there, that's really important. So agree is a 5, disagree is a 1. So then you pick your score and plug it in on the keypad to tell us what you think. So here's an example of how that might work. This one's not live. We're not going to use the clickers at the moment, but just to give you an example question about how such a thing might work. Given we're in the Willamette Valley, it seemed like bringing the ducks into it might be a good idea. So, or not. I did say I went to school in Corvallis, so this is a painful thing, but. I know how the Beavers did in the national championship game. So I might ask you a question. I might have a value that I was going to ask you, but how do you feel about the Ducks' chances this fall? So a statement might be, Oregon's football team will win the Pac-12 again this fall. And we'd have our 5-point scale. We'd say a 1 is strongly disagree and a 5 is strongly agree. And then I'd ask you to make your selection and you'd hit your button and there you go. You'd make your score about what was going to happen. 0-0. So you got the hang of this. This isn't that hard, but here we go. So this is your turn. Now we're going to go live with these clickers. And we're going to take a couple of practice questions just so you kind of get warmed up. And we'll see how this works and you'll see how the feedback comes back out of these. So the first one is a very serious question that helps you start every day. The potential value statement is granola with fresh fruit is the best breakfast ever. We're going to have a 5-point scale. I'm not scoring yet. I'll tell you when to score it. And if you strongly agree that it's granola and fresh fruit is the answer, that's going to be a 5. If you've got something else in mind for breakfast, yeah, you go to the other end of that, that would be a strongly disagree. So then what we want you to do is go ahead and make your selection now. So pick between 1 and 5. Look at those responses coming in. I've got 70 responses, 75 responses. Ready, pick in between 1 and 5, and poll is closing. There we go. And what's everybody say? Well, you're all over the place. A lot of neutral's the big winner, so you're a little ambivalent about breakfast. But I noticed that there's a lot more people that went for the bacon and eggs than those who went for the granola with fresh fruit. So. All right, let's do one more practice question. This is a little closer to home and directly germane. The question would be, this year's Strawberry Festival on June 5th and 6th will have fabulous weather. So you got a scale of 1 to 5. A 5 would be strongly agree that it's going to be just a great day. A 1 would be, oh man, it's Oregon and it's going to rain. So poll is opening. Go ahead and make your selection now. Seem to have about 75 people voting each time, and poll is closing. All right. Good news for this That's it. We always think it's going to be Saturday morning. Okay, ready to get serious and talk about the future? Yes, Great question. Thank you. So if you push, most of these questions have 1 through 5 as the answer. If you push 6, 7, 8, or any of those other buttons, nothing will happen. You won't derail a train in Detroit. The computer will just ignore you. If you push a 1 and then you push a 2, the 2 is the score that's going to go down as your answer. The last thing you push before I close the polling is the score that's going to go in there. So if you change your mind, you can change it. It won't count your vote twice. It will just count the last thing you did. Make sense? Any other questions about how this works? Yes? Just until the light flashes. Just as soon as you see the light happen, you're good. All right?
Just one question. Are we answering these as relates to the city management or to the city as a whole?
Another good question. So that sparks a couple things. So most of these questions are either about how is Lebanon doing now, or about how well Lebanon is prepared to do for the future. In each case, I want you to answer the question just as it's stated. And whether or not we wrote the question well is another discussion. We have written it however we wrote it, so we all should answer the same question. Some of them talk about the future, Some of them are pretty present tense. The other part of that question was, is it just about the city management or what? And I would like you to answer about Lebanon as a community, because I think it's for the community's leaders to figure out, well, that problem is something the city can fix, this one is a county problem, this one is a school district problem. You know, I don't think that's your problem tonight. The point is, if you think it's really important and we need to do something about it, answer it that way. Don't psych yourself out with, well, the city can't do that, because I think that's really up to people to figure out how to work together. Any other questions about sort of how this is happening? All right, let's move into these questions. Clickers at the ready. The first three questions are about arts and culture. The first one focuses on events. And the question is, Lebanon should support a diversity of arts events for locals and visitors. We got our 5-point scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree, and I'm opening the polling, and make your selection now. Lebanon should support a diversity of arts events for locals and visitors. Looks like everybody's pretty much in, so closing polling. Very strong support. A couple of responses at the strongly disagree or disagree, but the single most biggest response is strongly agree. Moving forward, still in the arts and culture category, question about the arts. Lebanon's opportunities in the arts, visual, literature, performing, music, support and enrich the lives of residents. So that's a statement kind of in the present tense. Just answer the question as it's stated. You got your 5-point scale and opening polling now. Let your answers happen. Going once, going twice, and polls closing. Nice shaped curve there, kind of leaning toward the agree end, but some significant disagreement with that. So that there's one that there's more of a mixed result. So you see how that's moving forward, and we're getting some feedback. Moving forward, still on arts and culture, question about the library. Lebanon's public library adequately addresses the needs of the community. We've got our scale, poll is opening, answer the question now. Lebanon's public library adequately addresses the needs of the community. Going once, twice, 3 times. There's a couple people holding out on this question. There we go. Pretty much agreement on that one. But some disagreement. Not as strong as the first question. Okay, changing to community and economic development. First question is about new business. Lebanon should make it easy for new businesses and industry to bring economic opportunities to the community. We have our scale. Poll is open. Lebanon should make it easy for new businesses and industry to bring economic opportunities to the community. Jumped on that one. Fast answers. Wow. That's clear. Gary, get to it. Still on community and economic development. Managed growth. Lebanon should welcome growth and development that aligns with the community's infrastructure, services, and resources. We have our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon should welcome growth and development that aligns with the community's infrastructure, services, and resources. Closing now. Wow. That looks like the last answer almost exactly. So a little bit of disagreement, but pretty strong agreement by the folks that showed up tonight. One more community and economic development question. This is about mobility and transportation. Lebanon's transportation infrastructure supports the community's future needs. Got our scale, and poll is open. Lebanon's transportation infrastructure supports the community's future needs. Closing momentarily, and closed. Ooh, got some work to do on that one. So that's interesting. You start to see that different sense of really clear support for new business and industry that create economic opportunities, strong support for managed growth, but concerns about the current system, the mobility. So that's a pretty clear message. Community friendliness, the town friendliness bill, right? So in the first one in that category is right at friendly. Lebanon welcomes new residents and provides opportunities for involvement. We've got our scale, and poll is open. People are mulling on that one a little bit. Okay, closing 1, 2, and closed. Pretty good agreement, though there's a lot of neutral and disagree, not near as strong as the clarity about the economic growth and managed growth. So friendly, but not sure by everybody. Still on community friendliness, this is about connections. Lebanon community events and activities promote connections among residents. We've got our scale, and poll is open. Lebanon community events and activities promote connections among residents. You're getting the hang of this, voting's going faster. Closing. Strong pattern there that people are kind of hitting the same buttons. We hear that we see that same score fairly regularly. One more on community friendliness. This one is about inclusive. Lebanon's outreach efforts effectively embrace and involve all segments of the community. Got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon's outreach efforts effectively embrace and involve all segments of the community. Looks like everybody's in. Not so strong there. There's another clear message about a question about Lebanon's outreach efforts effectively embrace and involve all segments of the community. Quite a few of you are neutral to disagree on that one as compared to some of the other questions. So there's a message. Then we got 3 questions about downtown. And this was interesting in the early part of this process. We didn't have a question that said, what do you think about downtown? But downtown kept coming up. So we're curious what people meant by that and how we might respond to that. So the first downtown question is about downtown as the heart of the community. Lebanon's downtown should be the cultural and civic heart of the community. We have our scale, and poll is open. Lebanon's downtown should be the cultural and civic heart of the community. Looks like everybody's in, so the poll is closed. Wow. Strong support there, that people are clear that from strongly agree, by far the strongest response there. Second question about downtown is downtown as a gathering center. Lebanon's downtown is an important social gathering center. Cafes, entertainment, civic and artistic venues should be encouraged. Here's our scale. Poll is open. Lebanon's downtown is an important social gathering center. Cafes, entertainment, civic, and artistic venues should be encouraged. Looks like everybody's in. Poll is closed. Wow. Again, a very strong positive response to that. Looks like nobody strongly disagreed with that one. And one more question about downtown. This one's about the buildings, historic preservation. Lebanon's downtown's buildings should be restored and preserved. We've got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon's downtown buildings should be restored and preserved. And poll is closed. Again, strong support, not quite as strong. Some dissension there. So we're going to be forming committees of the downtown revitalization effort over here at the end of the meeting. You're clearly the committee. Next area is education. Moving on through this at a fairly quick pace. You're all doing a great job. Got 3 questions about education. The first one has to do specifically with the schools. And again, we know this isn't the city's jurisdiction necessarily, but we want to ask a question about the schools. Lebanon's educational resources, K through 12, colleges, and vocational schools meet the needs of residents. We've got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon's educational resources, K-12, colleges, vocational schools, meet the needs of residents. Looks like everybody's in. Poll is closed. Kind of a mixed bag there. A lot of neutral and disagree, a little bit of agree, some strongly disagree. So some work to do there, feeling the sense of the state of the schools. Another one on education. This is about children and families. Lebanon should support its children with active after-school and extracurricular programs beyond the school system. It's got that should word in there again. Lebanon should support. We've got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon should support its children with active after-school and extracurricular programs beyond the school system. Looks like everybody's in. Poll is closed. Wow, very strong support there. A little bit of disagreement, but by far the most popular button was strongly agree. Another one on education. This is about lifelong learning. Lebanon should actively promote lifelong learning opportunities for adults as well as children. We've got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon should actively promote lifelong learning opportunities for adults as well as children. Looks like everybody's in. Poll is closed. Again, very strong agreement. Just a little bit of disagree, but mostly strongly agree. Last section, there's 4 questions about health and safety. The first one is about healthy lifestyles. It's another should question. Lebanon should provide tools and resources for healthy lifestyles. Got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon should provide tools and resources for healthy lifestyles. Some people aren't sure. Going once, going twice, closing. They keep dribbling in. Okay, closing it now. Pretty strong agreement for that one, but some uncertainty across the board. It fits well with the timing of the voting. Public safety. Lebanon residents feel a sense of safety and well-being due to limited crime. Got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon residents feel a sense of safety and well-being due to limited crime. Looks like we're about there. And closing. Some ambivalence there. Disagree is the number one answer. A lot of neutrals, some agreement, some strong disagreement. So people aren't sure. As a group, you've got real differing feelings about the sense of Lebanon residents feeling a sense of safety due to limited crime. So that fits kind of with the small town response we had earlier, but then the drugs thing kept popping up. So clearly there's some issues there. Health and safety, recreation. Lebanon parks, trails, open spaces, and other recreational activities support the community's future needs. We've got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon's parks, trails, open spaces, and other recreational activities support the community's future needs. Some hesitation on this one. It's got that word future in there. Lebanon's parks, trails, open spaces, and other recreational activities support the community's future needs. And to close in 3, 2, 1, closed. Oh. Well, we got to have a couple people change their votes from agree to strongly disagree, and it would be totally flat. So really some uncertainty in that one, so kind of all across the board. That's an interesting response. Last question in the main set, and then we have a trick question at the end that's going to make you really think. But this is about seniors. Lebanon's senior services meet the needs of senior residents. We've got our scale, and the poll is open. Lebanon's senior services meet the needs of senior residents. Some people holding back on this one. And Lebanon's senior services meet the needs of senior residents. Closing in 3, 2, 1, closed. Pretty neutral on that one. Slightly skewed toward agree, but pretty neutral in the sense of Lebanon's senior services meet the needs of senior residents. I have one more question, but it's multi-part, and so I need you to wake up from your little 1 through 5 kind of just doing one after another without listening to me at all, or whatever it was you were doing. This one's a little different. So we're going to rank those 6 focus areas that we talked about. We're going to score those about how they compare to each other. So this is one question, but you get to answer 6 times. How's that for complicated? And you can't, I don't actually know, I think if you change your mind, you can't go back because you're just going to have to go through it in order. So pay attention, don't start working ahead, bear with me. I'm going to tell you when to give me your scores. But the idea is we're going to compare those 6 things to each other and we're going to rank them from the most important one to the least important one. Not polling yet. I'm going to walk you through it so you know what's coming. So we're going to please rank the focus areas in terms of their importance to Lebanon's future. And we're going to ask you to choose all 6 categories in the order of importance. So the first one you pick is going to be the most important, and the second one is going to be the second most important. The third one is going to be for the third most important, etc., until you get to the 6th one. So wait for the prompts. We're going to do this all together, and you have to do them one after another. I'm going to walk through the 6 focus areas so you get to see them all before we start voting. Don't start voting yet. We got arts and culture. That's an A. On your keypad, there's the button in the upper left corner that says 1/A. So when we get that would be where you'd score that one. The second one, B, is community and economic development. That's the second button. The third one is community friendliness. The fourth one, D, is downtown. E is education. And F is health and safety. And we're going to walk through one at a time, taking the first one you're going to pick when I tell you that the polls are open. I haven't done that yet. Computer's ignoring you. The first one you push, you're going to say is the most important. And you can only, so you got to figure out which on this list of 6 things you think is which is the most important in terms of its importance to Lebanon's future. All right, so I'm going to open the polling, and what you're going to do is pick your top priority now. Just push one button for the top priority. Okay, looks like most everybody's in. Now we're going to go forward and we're going to push your second priority now. Now the second one, after the first one you already answered, push the button that represents your second priority. Looks like we're getting there. 3, 2, 1. Now push the button for your third priority. Third priority, you've had 2 before, now this is the third one. Closing this one out, 3, 2, 1. Now press the button for your fourth priority. Getting down toward the end of the list. Feeling guilty because these other ones aren't there, but now's your chance to pick them up. 3, 2, 1. Put your fifth priority, next to last, fifth one. Everybody's getting the hang of this, doing it fast. And moving forward, 3, 2, 1. And score your final priority now. Whichever button you didn't push before, push it now. And then what the computer's going to do is take all that input and they're going to score, give a top score to each one you press first, and the next score and the next score, and then it's going to add it all up. We're going to see those results here in just a moment. So this is an aggregate score of all those things together, which shows that community and economic development came up slightly higher than any of the others, followed by health and safety, education, downtown, community friendliness, and arts and culture. So that's how those scores came out of all of those things, taking them all together and ranking them various ways across those scores. So now you just really had a good time with those clickers. And I'm interested in turning it over to you to give you a chance to say, what did you see from that? That was, you've just been looking at yourselves respond to your community with a lot of complicated questions. And I'd be interested in people's thoughts. Anybody want to speak up? And this microphone has a really short cord, so I think you're going to have to just speak loudly. unless you can't, you can come up here and use the mic. Anybody want to speak up?
This computer's going to record comments.
Yeah. This is Beth Dufek, who works with me, and she's been doing most of the work for the last few months of getting ready for this event. So if I've said anything useful tonight, Beth wrote it. And she's going to record your comments. So, yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a little difficulty with the arts question about opportunity for arts and visual visitors or performing music, because I think visual and literature, that was something that didn't do quite as much, but performing music, I think we have a lot of resources and connects to that.
So maybe the arts question was hard to answer because we bundled a lot of things into one question. Okay, that's a fair comment. Yes, ma'am. Good point. So because some of the questions, the questions wandered around a little bit. So how did you feel about, so thank you for that input. That's helpful. And we'll make sure we have a place on the website. You're paying attention. We need to make sure when on the survey on the website, we have a place for people to write in their comments. Good. Yes?
I would be curious to see a demographic on how many years people live here, to see how that correlates.
That's a good question. What did you think about everybody's responses to that? Yes, sir.
Well, I wasn't thinking about that, but in relation to Rob's question over there, senior services questions, I'm kind of happy to say I really don't feel qualified to answer that.
Good point. We made the judgment call to not ask you a bunch more questions about who you are for time. And you're right, we would learn some more stuff if we'd done that. Adam.
I was pretty excited about a lot of the responses. I felt like they picked up a lot of the things that I was reading. So it seemed like community, at least the people here, and the other questions where it sounds like there's sort of a cohesiveness about what people are feeling about right now.
Did others do that? Did you feel like you were part of what was happening up there and it seemed like what Lebanon thinks? That's good. Yes.
One thing I thought was interesting came up in the earlier session too was that there's very strong economic development and very strong business growth that's being sent by this. At the same time, you go back and it's very strong, even in a small town. So I wish there was a little bit more specific as to whether that is literally you want to say small, you want to have that holiness, or you want to have small town feel, that means maybe it's really break down. I don't know.
I think those are great observations about there's this very strong message about economic growth or business and industry growth and about managed growth happening, but also this strong passion for this small town feel. I think that comes across very clearly, and it leads to the strategic planning process that the mayor mentioned earlier. I think in figuring out how you can bring growth and opportunity to Lebanon without losing the qualities that people really bond to in the community will be the challenge in moving forward.
And I think once you figure that out, everything else, all the other subtopics will all fall into place. I think all the other topics will all fall into place if you focus on that once you figure that out.
Sure, if we can figure that out, all the other topics will fall in place. Yes, sir.
Well, my comment is we kind of got something from the founder there. You asked about community development, businesses coming in and being welcome. Yes, they should be welcome, but we don't have to go out and bribe them. I think those two are kind of the founders launching here.
So that your point being that we would want to welcome businesses, but we wouldn't want to subsidize them coming to town.
Right, and or go out and decide which one should come to town.
We didn't ask that a question that had to do with subsidy or anything like that. Yes, ma'am. So that was a question about, are the businesses that are coming in, are they a good fit for Lebanon's future? That's a great observation. If anybody wants to weigh in on that,
Let the market decide.
let the market decide. So don't try to force people to do what they want to say.
I think you handled that question very well, and actually making sure that the business that we want to fit the community.
Thank you. So the appreciation for the saying that the businesses and the growth that happens fits the infrastructure and the capacity and the plans and the community. Yes, sir.
Another aspect is looking at what kind of business you want to attract. If you have an education system that supports the kind of business you want to attract, you can't do that independently. You need to address that together.
So you want to attract businesses and that fit with the education system, or the education system that fits with the businesses that are coming together. You can't do those separately. I think that's really true. Need a qualified workforce for the businesses that are here. So balancing the business and the education system, I think that's really true. Yes. So the one observation was concern about putting money out to just attract business, and then the observation that sometimes the investments that the community makes in itself that do attract business might be good for many people beyond that business. So that's kind of two different ways of looking at the same thing. Yes, sir.
We need to look out for the sewers, water systems, and storm drains. So that's the elephant in the room. That costs money.
Got to watch out for the sewers, the storm drains, and the water system, and it's very important. It costs money. There's another hand over here.
Observation from past town I lived in prior to moving here to Wayne. The community is sort of the town itself paid to build a supermarket in the middle of town to try and boost the economics in it with sales research. And I think that's one thing that's good. I hate using the word lie, but it really is. That's something that can't be used as a lie to bring in outside sources. It's really not work well with the community.
So concern about using community resources to bring in businesses that may not survive and don't fit the local market. Yes, ma'am.
I'm concerned that unity should be more involved in some businesses. For example, when Walmart came in, that wasn't up to our community at large. We didn't have any say in that. And when Walmart came in, we lost the drive-in theater. That's a historic value. And Walmart's where it was, struggling with her. And in fact, there's a historic apple road. So now we have a little like thing there about a better one. And I think that should have been both.
So the observation that when Walmart came in, the community should have had a chance to vote on whether that was appropriate. Yes, sir.
I'd like to point out that the history of our town is critical. It identifies not only who we are and where we've come from, but it also kind of directs us as to where we're going. We need to the history of this town.
Right.
We cease being a community, we just become a town.
Well said.
And we have to protect our history. We have to preserve the historic buildings and the landmarks of this area. Otherwise, we cease being who we are.
So protecting the history of the town is important to preserving the community's identity and sense of who you are. Yes, ma'am.
Along with that, as restoration was downtown buildings, because if we're going to attract businesses to downtown, we've got to find some way to get the absentee owners to make their buildings attractive so that the businesses want to be there. And okay, we go back to the bribery, but incentives to those owners of those buildings to find a way that we can monetarily help them to, restore that building
So the importance of finding ways to encourage the owners of downtown buildings to fix up their buildings and therefore attract business to the downtown. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know that all the houses, but like lots of white houses, lots of little shoe shops, I take in all of them. And we, it's trying to make them on top level, all of our small businesses are either struggling for a rent or whatever it is, something is causing our small business to not flourish. And that's sad. I think the culture is changing, everyone wants to shop, everyone thinks it's a place for everything. And people don't go little shops.
So challenges to local small businesses and the shame of losing those, and some observations that may have something to do with big box stores and or the internet. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I've only been in Lebanon for about a year. I travel a lot over the West Coast, bigger cities, smaller cities. And what I'm seeing here tonight is a lot of conflicting priorities, both individually and as a community. I hear concerns about let the market decide what businesses might be attracted to Lebanon. Almost hard on the heels of that, I hear, well, we shouldn't have an opportunity to vote on one of the larger employers. You can't have it both ways. Clearly defining your objectives is the best way to pursue your purpose. I understand that's part of the process here. I saw vast appeal for economic growth. I also saw a great desire for managed growth. They're congruent, but not quite compatible. To have the economic growth, put money in the pockets of the citizens to support the small businesses, you need well-paying jobs. There are things about a community that will invite those well-paying jobs. There are larger employers. What invites a larger employer into the community? There will be things like transportation. Tax issues will be a factor. In this community, water and wastewater. All of these things are all bundled together, but the disparate interests sort of confound us. This meeting is a great example of trying to define that vision for the future, and that's great. But as a community, we really do got to decide, do we want it bigger? Do we want it better? Or are we satisfied with it as it is?
Good observations, and that's exactly why we're here, is to try and articulate a vision for what Lebanon wants to be for Lebanon's own sake. And the next step after that will be to figure out a strategic plan to move us in that direction. But at the moment, we're trying to figure out what everybody wants. Yep.
I appreciate you standing up and saying that. I'm Jason Bowler, I'm a counselor from Ward 3. I work for the fire district here in town. One of the questions I get the most on social media when people stop and talk, at meetings and whatnot, one of the questions I get the most is, you need to, the council, you need to bring in this kind of restaurant. You need to bring in this kind of shop. You need to bring in this kind of business. Your city, we're in a free market economy where this is capitalism rules in the United States. If Joe Blow, my neighbor, wants to open up a bike shop, then Joe should have every right to open his bike shop and run it however he pleases. If Joe has a successful business plan and he can make it work, then God bless Joe. I mean, he's going to be successful, and Lebanon will support him. If Joe has a poorly run shop, though, Joe's shop will fail and he will go under. And that's the way it's supposed to work. It's not good on Joe or bad on Joe. That's our economy. And that's how it works. So your city doesn't necessarily pick out, we want to have a Sizzler come into town. We want to have the Plan Pizza come to town. We don't do that. That's not our job. That's your job as citizens to be the entrepreneurs, to be the business owners. You want to open a tire shop? Have a great tire shop, and people will come and support it. And they do. And that's how that works in this town. So when you think about it, it's a great point that you made, because you have to decide what end you want to support. And so I appreciate that comment greatly, and you hit the nail right on the head. Your city, we're encouraging everyone to come with business ideas to Lebanon. It's up to us to just say, yes, you meet the regulations and the codes and the ordinances that we put out there, or no, you don't. That's all we can do. Everything else is up to you, the entrepreneur, and you, the business owner. That's the way it should be in the United States, in my opinion. Thanks for that point. Great.
Anybody else?
So I think that Jason and you, sir, pointed out a great deal of key points, which is we decide where we shop. We decide where we go for fun, for work at times, if we go out of town for work or if we stay here. And so that's up to us. And I think, Jason, you said it very well, that the city can do some things about these things, but it can't do everything. And so, we mentioned Walmart back here, and we mentioned a free market economy. So, if everybody goes online into Walmart, that's where it goes. If you go downtown and shop for local businesses, that's where the money goes.
Yeah.
There's a placard downtown that has a 350 project that I commend greatly, because if we spend the money with our small local businesses, 50 cents or more of that dollar stays here, because I spend money with you. You go to the grocery store clerk spends it out at the bowling alley. It's just cyclical, and that dollar stays here. But if we go online, 0 cents stays here. Okay? And then if you go to some of the bigger box stores, yes, they have convenience, but you're paying for it. You're paying for it by not having that dollar stay here.
Other comments? Yes, sir.
I guess one more observation is, one, I barely found out about this meeting tonight, and I haven't anything to comment just because, I'm retired and I take the time to whine about how my taxes are spent. But a lot of people either don't get the message, but more just don't, they're really working, they don't pay attention, they don't know what's going on. So please try to keep in mind that there's a lot of people out there that may have one view or another. Most of the people here are, I'm sure you're here because you support the community, you love the community, you work hard for the community, you do a lot of good things for the community. And that's where a lot of the stuff has to come from, basically people in this room filling it up. But, keep in mind there's a lot of people out there paying taxes, that drive around the streets, they don't like driving the streets, and so on and so forth. They like small town for one part.
That's a great segment. Yeah, go ahead.
And I just have to respond to that and say, I feel like Jason did a great job of putting it out on social media. I saw it advertised that way quite a bit. And everybody has an excuse. Yeah, there's not any room for excuses. If you want to get involved, you have to show up and make an effort. And I don't think that we can accept excuses.
So I just want to respond that one of the ways we work to get participation in this process was to have this meeting tonight and do what we could to get people here. We've just launched our second online survey. We did a focus group at the Senior Center in the morning, right? And so we're trying lots of different ways to get coming over here.
If I remember correctly, at the beginning of the section, you said that this same survey that we're doing is going to be available online. How long is that going to be available online?
A good question. So let me just, I've got 2 more slides, and let me just, since we're talking about it, where this goes from here is there's another community survey. We started out with the first community survey I showed you the results of before, that we got over 500 people to participate. So in April and May, we've got a community survey. It's the same as tonight. So if there's anybody that you think should have answered those questions, get them onto the website so they can answer those questions there. We've also got these paper surveys that you've got tonight. You can pick them up elsewhere in town, and you can drop them off here. You can drop them off at City Hall or at the Chamber of Commerce. So there's lots of places to get that feedback as well. This will go to the City Council and the Steering Committee. Are going to meet together to discuss this in May. And then we've got this group of about 20 folks who've been calling the Vision Sounding Board that are going to get together and kind of react to all the results to sort of help make sure the consultants are doing a good job of summarizing what it is. And then we'll be at the City Council for adoption in June. What you can do right now is inspire your friends to take this survey. You can get a copy of it at City Hall or at the Chamber. You can, or here. And you can turn it in either of those places, and anybody can take it online at Lebanon2040.org. Yes, sir?
Okay, so along the same line, will this be recorded or anything?
We're not videotaping or audio recording this, but we will publish the notes, and the survey that you just took, we have, the computer remembers what you said. It doesn't remember there's no individual connection to it, but those scores, we will put those on the website so people can see what's happening.
So if all of this is available on the website, I'm assuming that the Senior Center does have computers as well. I know the library has computers. Here's fine.
Yeah, there's plenty of time for people to be involved.
It's not like you didn't show up tonight if you could not say something here. So
That's exactly right.
that should be an audience.
So, Beth, do you want to give us a recap here? Why don't you come over and hit the microphone? It's a big room.
Thank you. So I was trying to record basically everything you were saying as fast as I could. So some issues with the questions are it's difficult with arts and entertainment to really separate, the culture from the arts. And some things are very visual and in your face, and it's easy to answer about that. But there are other things like literature that is not. So that is something we will think about that during our analysis. We probably won't change the questions because we will level playing field. But I'm glad you brought it up. Also, a lot of discussion about business. I think that's really, really important here. And talking about local businesses versus jobs needed, so needing distribution centers and things so that people have money to spend at stores. But I think it was a good point. Like not only do the entrepreneurs make the decision, but where you shop also is important. So businesses can't stay open if you don't spend your money there. And just as a note, we were at the Biz Expo yesterday, and that's what all those stickers on the wall were from. And it was interesting because a lot of people want a steakhouse. But we translate that to mean we want more places to eat and more things to do. It's really what happened yesterday. That we heard it from the kids, we heard it from the parents, we heard it from the seniors, that there needs to be more to do to sometimes keep people out of trouble, but just sometimes to further enrich people's lives in Lebanon. And I think it was a really good point. It reinforces our work that we need to this community needs to clearly define your objectives so that you can really help guide people's decisions on where they make investments from the city level, the Boys and Girls Club. I saw a question up there that outside of the education system, there needs to be more investments in enriching people's lives, and obviously the Boys and Girls Club does that. So we're really going to be relying on community partners to carry through the vision for Lebanon.
So when is those other meetings that are in May? Mid-May, right?
May 6th, May 13th is for Singapore.
So the survey will be up until May 12th.
Are you doing the survey at the school, like the high school?
will. We have good relationships with the principals, and also I should note, we are translating the survey in Spanish. It's translated now, we just have to get it online. So we have had a request from Green Acres School to definitely do that. And we have reached out to some Spanish-speaking parents that have expressed some concerns about not feeling like they can connect because they don't speak the language, so we took that very seriously, and so we did do that. And we have the school superintendent here, so I'm really hoping he'll help me get it into the schools.
So I think we've come to the end of the program. Mayor, you want to say something wise? I very much appreciate all of your participation in the polling and your just really great feedback just now and input. That's great.
Thank you. Did you guys have fun doing that? I thought it was kind of it was a neat process. I wasn't expecting the technology, so the geek side, we really enjoyed that. That was kind of fun. Seeing the real-time results, that was neat. What I'd like to ask you to do is to grab a couple of those questionnaires, take them with you, and give them to someone. Give them to someone that hasn't heard about this, and share that. If everybody did that here, we got 75 people, took 2, you have 150 more people that could fill these questions out. The other thing, too, is, and you talked about it in the beginning, a lot of groups have been contacted that you may not even know about, that Mayor's Youth Council, there's from the high school. There's a lot of people that have been contacted. We talked to kids, we talked to adults, we talked to seniors. So there's a lot of people that have been contacted already, and there's going to be a lot more contacted. So the more you can do to get the word out about it, it's going to help us all out and getting the vision. And I appreciate everybody's comments, really good comments. It was awesome. Question?
No, actually, we have an opportunity. People talk about food, entertainment, and historic preservation. I represent the Strawberry Mill. We have a spaghetti feed coming up on the 23rd of May. We also have movies that we're going to be showing on the side of the mill coming up this summer on Thursday evening.
I'll take this right here.
Don't ask, don't get.
There's a silent auction. We like these cheap and sleazy advertisement opportunities. This is a really neat project. And on Saturday we have a work party. We've gotten 2 grants to show movies at the mill this summer, and we'll show classic movies because we found out a couple days ago that public domain movies are the only ones we can afford to show. And so you will be seeing black and white classics. We're going to show Charade with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. We're going to show some old, and so that'll be fun. Next to the mill, we see that white screen on the side of the Scroggins Mill, so we can go down there and watch that. But we need volunteers. We need people to help. We need people to come.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Okay. No. I feel like I'm at a city council meeting. Where's my gavel? Thank you very much for coming. Please pick up a couple brochures, the questionnaires on the way out. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. Good night. Now leave your clickers here.